Women's Day is coming, and as usual I feel like making some nice flower souvenir type gift. Or to be more precise, I would like to surprise our teachers with such nice souvenirs. By the way, recently I visited a regular parent-teacher conference and noticed that the bouquet we've presented our teacher on Teacher's Day is still there. It is kept in a prominent location to gladden the eye. So our attempts have been appreciated, and that's why we are happy to continue pleasing our dear people. I recommend you to involve children in working on this souvenir for moms, grannies, teachers, whoever you would like to please. So, we need just a few tubes for this item and just a bit of material. In my case, I've used several red tubes, a couple of green and a couple of yellow tubes. I've recollected the cards from my childhood with a red ribbon 8 and a Mimosa twig. This tender spring flower is associated with our Women's Day, so I propose you making such a souvenir. I made the first 8 of 2 identical coils, but I disliked it, so I've thrown it away. I started looking for a different base form, and I found this empty pill container. This container will help us make 2 8s, a big one and a smaller one. For the first half of the 8, I'm hugging the thicker part of the bottle. For the second one, I'm using the cap. The tubes must be wet, otherwise they won't hug the bottle in a smooth way. Besides, I'm flattening them while wrapping the bottle. Many of you are familiar with this technique. It is rather simple, so I believe a kid directed by a grown-up can manage it. The tubes are easy to flatten, cause I painted them as lately as yesterday. I failed to paint the tubes smooth, but I don't get disappointed cause I can paint them over later. So make coils, lengthening the tube in the process. Your 8 it has to be rather thick, so you need to make at least 6 or maybe even 8 coils, both for the upper and the lower circle. Don't forget to lengthen the tubes in the process. At the same time, I smoothen the ring with my fingers and make sure it is flat. I'm using dragon glue. Well, you can apply school glue as well, but I use dragon glue because it doesn't require any additional time for drying. It gets dry very fast, so I can create a floral composition right along. Five coils have been made, so I need 1 or 2 tubes more in order to make a couple of rows more. I take a base out and fix it with a clothing clip accurately. Some flattening will be quite appropriate here. So I flatten it with a clothing clip right in the point of connection of 2 rings. It will be quite opportune that the ring will be a bit thinner in this point. Now let's make a similar ring around the cap. 6 8 layers of tubes. It is going to be the upper part of the 8. Two rings are ready. While they are drying, let's twist a stand for the 8. How to make a workpiece? I wrap the bigger ring with a tube like this in order to get prepared for making a stand. Try it on and start gluing. We are making a stand as a separate item. We are going to insert our 8 into it afterwards. Or you can hang the 8 onto a wall as an option. There are several possible options. You can either hang it onto a wall or put it on a desk. It's up to you. A couple of coils more and you can take the stand out and shape an oval without any base form. I've left a gap specifically to insert an 8 into it later. You have to make an oval wide enough to hold an 8 stable. You can see that here I've got 2 ovals because a single oval was not sufficient to hold an 8 stable enough. So let's lengthen the tube and continue. 2 halves of the 8 are woven as well as 2 ovals for support. Well, actually, 1 oval would be quite sufficient if you wove it with thick tubes made specifically for this purpose. However, since I've got normal tubes of standard thickness, I'm going to make a 2 storage support. It is too hard to make both halves identical, so you can either mask the difference with an additional tube or you can leave it like this. The double stand is high enough for stability. Meanwhile, the rings have fastened and dried. Now our task is to connect the halves in this flat point. I cover the halves with glue thoroughly, unite and fix with large closing clips. Well, maybe 1 closing clip will be enough, cause 2 clips don't hold on. If your 8 tends to twist, you can press it with some weight from both sides. However, mine is okay without any additional pressure. Let's leave it for a while to let the glue fasten and dry. Meanwhile, we can start creating a mimosa twig. This is my first 8. It was made of white rings, but I disliked the way it looked and painted them. A pink 8 looks better than the white one, but most of all I like the red one, so it is the way I make them. As for a twig, this one looks more like a real mimosa. My sister has seen this one today and she thought it was sea buckthorn. Since our goal is mimosa, I've decided upon the one like this, a single twig with small mimosa bunches on it. Let's stick it with some glue, fix it with a clothespin and let it dry. This composition is also practical in the way of recycling tube remainders, cause you can make the entire item with short remainders of tubes. one clip and the second one. That's all, the basic twig is ready. Now I'm making mimosa leaves, cutting the tubes into small pieces at a sharp angle. I watched some pictures of mimosa twigs and I'm doing my best to create something similar with the help of available material. The tubes have been painted with the following mixture: primer mixed with water, colorant and varnish. That's why the tubes don't unroll when cut, because they have been treated already. So we are making such mimosa leaves. As for the very flowers, the process is still more exciting. If I'm not mistaken, I've used only 1 or maybe 1.5 tubes for this twig. Just cut a yellow tube into very fine pieces. Well, let's cut 2 tubes to make our bunches rich enough. So both leaves and flowers are prepared. In order to speed up the process, I'm using a glue gun. At first, let's form the very twig. Please note that you have to leave some space for inserting the 18 to support. That's why you don't make any leaves at the very bottom. Start a little higher. This type of glue makes the process much faster. Well, I believe 4 or 5 leaves will be quite enough. Now form the upper part in the same very way. That's all. After that, you start attaching the flowers. In order to make it look like mimosa rather than sea buckthorn, try making the bunches rich enough. The leaves has gotten stick strong enough. Now let's add some more glue for flowers. I believe it must be very useful for training kids' fine motor skills. We are kind of growing a mimosa twig. It is the way mimosa twigs look in the picture. Mine looks like this. The next step is attaching the support. At first, let's connect 2 parts of the stand. And then insert the 8 into it. With the help of a glue gun, you can make everything very fast. Look, before attaching Mimosa, I've covered this edge with an additional layer of colorant mixed with some white paint. As for this one, I haven't covered it with any additional paint, so I'm leaving it pink. I will cover it with varnish afterwards. These twig sticks thoroughly enough, they are covered with lacquer already and are quite ready as a gift. I've added a bit more of Mimosa to the stand, and our spring composition is finished. The only thing left is to varnish the item to make it shine like these two. Dear ladies, happy coming Women's Day! Let the warmth you are sharing by means of your handmade gifts will come back to you. Happy Women's Day!